Doing social media has attracted 400 clients to work with me together and 4,000 customers for both coaching, consulting, SaaS, info products, all kinds of stuff where you sell your words and your knowledge inside of your head. And in this training that I'm going to give you today, that was something you had to pay a $20,000 mastermind from me to get. But today I'm giving it to you. I'm giving it to you where you can find exactly how I price an offer, the 4 components of it. How do you think through having your own offer, and then how to put it on a Google Doc that you can then send to somebody and then they will pay you. I've done it 400 times and 4,000 customers have gone through it. So I'm gonna show you exactly how I do it. You can take these templates, roll with them, and go make some money. Enjoy. The offer show. Sales are easier the more we sell what people want. Like groundbreaking discovery here. But more than our stuff, people want us. Imagine if you dropped all boundaries today in front of your socials and sold unlimited access to you for a flat fee. People get calls, DMs, lunch every day with you, and you're like 5 spots only. You'd probably sell out before you go to bed tonight because people want you. The key then is not finding a good offer. You already have one, which is you. People have admitted that they want you by following and engaging with you. The problem is not a better offer. The problem is how to finding a way to sell the better offer that you already have, which is you, without crossing your personal boundaries and in a way that you actually like. So the default offer structure today is an offer suite. Typically, it's a combination of stuff like a course, mastermind, program, and a community. So it's like different kinds of stuff. However, the implications of a suite is that improvement in one offer does not bleed into the others. So let's say you make your program better, that doesn't make your ebook better. If you make your ebook better, that doesn't make your mastermind better. And if you make that better, that doesn't make the community better. So the effort that you're applying to making your business better is not multiplied by 4 as it was intended with an offer suite, but multiplied by 1/4. So like 25% is effective. When you have a structure like this in which the improvements don't bleed onto the others, that demands that you divide your attention. And dividing your attention often leads to unhappiness because you can't be fully present in one thing. For me personally, I'm one of my happiest when I'm creating one thing and I can just focus on one thing and get in flow. But flow and multitasking don't get along. It's one or the other. For me, it's either flow with more happiness or multitasking with less. The trade-off and finding that okay, I'm either happy or I'm multitasking, is what got me in search of a model in which improvements in one area bled more into the others. That way, I wouldn't have to create many things to make more, which would get me out of flow. I can just put all I got and all my focus into one thing and make sure that thing is good and know that everything then will be okay. That's how I arrived to the model of the offer show. So the offer structure that monetizes access, not stuff. And that is something you can see play out right now as I speak. So there's different kinds of people here. Some people paid $400 to be here. Some people pay $30,000 per year to be here. Everyone's getting the same stuff. Like everyone's getting the same workshop today. The difference is in how much access you get on top of the stuff. What that allows me to do is just put everything I got into this thing. And then I know that if I make this okay, the benefits will bleed into everything else. I spent all day yesterday, and this is not a joke, doing low ROI tasks like rehearsing this workshop. Like I was rehearsing this thing like at the bike at the gym, you know, the stationary bike, because I was so bored and I'm like, okay, might as well get something out of this. And making sure the graphics were just right. Having a shell though makes these things not low, but high ROI because the improvements will bleed into every level. From people who paid $400 to be here, all the way to people who pay $30,000 per year to be here. Knowing that the doc is one of the highest ROI things I can do for my business now allowed me to unlock flow because I knew that if I do one thing right, I don't have to get many things right. I just have to do one thing. And this resulted in quite an enjoyable and profitable week. So the shell gives you 3 things that a suite doesn't. It keeps you in flow for longer, so you're happier. It sells the most desirable thing you have, which is you, access to you. So you get more buyers and more upsells. And it rewards you financially for doing less and focusing on your art. And personally, in my experience, a lot of coaches like the art aspect more than they like the business aspect of what they do. Instead of being coaches who happen to do art, they'd much rather be artists who happen to coach. Like they see themselves as artists. It's not that they see themselves as coaches. And that's who the shell benefits the most. But to install it, we need 3 things that we're gonna install today. So the first one is tiers. What are you going to sell? Second is front end. How do you get buyers from it? And third is back end. How do you upsell people within it? Personally, around 75% of my money comes from the back end. And it's kind of a waste compared to like other well, other models, I see them as very wasteful because they only focus on the front end. How do you get somebody to transact with them once and they never upsell? Whereas I put most of my attention in the opposite place, which is the back end. But yeah, the offer shell. So how do we install it? We install with the tiers. So all the offer templates I'm going to talk about now are at the end of this document. So you can access them later and you can, everything's there. But first, we're going to identify the ones that serve you. So you don't end up selling offers or installing stuff that doesn't serve you. When we finish, if anything, you should have less work because this is actually quite simple and it doesn't need much installation. You just need to identify which ones are the ones that are best for you. So I divided it by stages: 10, 100K, and 100K a month plus. I've hit all three, and now in hindsight, I can see which components I went too far ahead and installed when I didn't really need to. So we start with 10K, right? Now, to get to 100K, you need blue and brown. But to get to 10K, we start from the furthest end. It's easier for us to walk backwards. We figure out what is the most access you're willing to give, and then we start removing things. We do this because if not, then there is no chance of it going a little bit too overboard, and you know how to control the people you give one-on-one access to, so then it never gets out of hand. That's what I'm trying to say. So for 10K a month, first tier we implement here is one-on-one access. What does this include? As much as you're willing to give to the client, access to you in order to accomplish a result. And this is where lines need to be blurred. We often think too much in done for you, done with you, do it yourself. And over systemizing a business can hurt it. Personally, the people who I just got in the beginning when I did one-on-one access, I gave them everything because it's the beginning, right? And in the beginning, you kind of have to do things that don't scale before you have something that scales. And I still do stuff that doesn't scale for my one-on-one clients, but nowadays the price is larger. That's the first tier to get to 10K. We remove something, or a different modality of it is long-term deals. So what is this? Is essentially giving your current clients a perk in order for them to stay for longer with you. Recurring revenue is a mirage. Like, we want people to stay for us for forever, but we got to put it in somewhere, right? I don't do contracts, but I do handshake agreements. So I'll give people perks in terms of a discount or credit or more access to me if they commit to staying for longer. And the third component to 10K would be assets. This is an example of an asset. Today I'm recording one. It's something that's going to be used later. And this is something you sell not for recurring payments, but it's just a one-time payment. And that is it. To get to 10K, this would be, that's the start. But to get to 100, you need things in the middle, kind of in between, because these are things that are easy to sell and easy to profit from, but they don't scale as much. To get to 100K, you need to put two components, or I had to put two components in order to have that scale that allowed me to grow. First one is group. Why do I not recommend you start with group? Because, well, if you're not getting many clients, then there's no group. Right? Might as well just get them one-on-one. And once you do one-on-one, you understand very fast what the market wants from you, which enables you to be more effective when you open up a group. And one thing in between, I didn't have this in the previous offer shell workshop, but now I understand the power of it, is temporary access. So an example of temporary access is the February cohort. So people can join for just their recordings. There's people there's both kinds of people here. People can just join for their recordings, but there's some people who said, I'm willing to pay more to get access to cash creators and work a little bit through it. That's temporary access. You'll often see me sell a pass on top of a workshop so people can get my help with it. Hours with you, like hours on Zoom, that's like temporary access. Or I'll sell, let's say your offer has 3 stages. So you have, let's say, lose 20 pounds, right? So lose 20 pounds in 3 months. In month 1, you lose a certain amount of pounds. Month 2, month 3. A temporary access offer is there's people who are willing to work with you, but they don't want to commit to the 3 months. What you can do is you can compress the time frame, the pricing, and the promise. So instead of selling them on the entire thing, you just sell them this. That is an example of another temporary access offer, which is a shorter duration. And often I found that when I sell that, 25% of people upsell into the next thing. And a funnel that converts to 25% isn't a bad funnel. But these are the pieces. And to get to 100K a month, these are the ones that took me there. A lot of nuance in between, but that was it. And again, I'll give you all the offer templates below. But so you understand, this was what got me here. And I'm not hitting that number like always, but now I see the path. If I wanted to get to 100K a month plus, that's going to be more like partnerships. So that's going to be me licensing my work with people or taking equity in people's businesses in exchange for consulting. But those are the strategies. So take the ones that serve you, reject the ones that don't. Now, the simplicity of this isn't the way it's delivered, because now that you know your tiers and you know what you're going to include, all that's left is finding, okay, well, how do I deliver on them? And this is the beauty of the shell. People ask me like, what do I get on the tier that's like 4 times as expensive as the other one? And my answer is messages. And a lot of people pay for it because it's you that they want. It's not your stuff. So when it comes to delivery, we start from the bare bones. What do you have is your stuff. In order for, and this is me running the workshop funnel, but if I wanted to do temporary access, which is sell the next offer, I don't need to add a lot of complexity into the offer. I can just add a community and the group calls that I host on Mondays. And that's it. And I already have 2 tiers just by putting stuff and then adding 2 components on top, 2 components of access. If somebody wanted to be in Cash Creators, then I add another one, which is one-on-one onboarding. So it's like just one more. For long-term deals, they get, on top of everything we covered, they get perks. So they get, for example, lower prices, more access in exchange for their commitment to stay longer. For one-on-one access, and this is as it sounds, like there's no more to this, truly, they just get a Slack channel and my Calendly link. And that is already an offer that's $1,000 per week. It's as simple as that, because they want you. Like if you could, I remember this when I got my first few coaching clients. I didn't have a portal, nothing built out, but I remember I told them, listen, all the knowledge that we need right here is not on a portal, but I got it in my head. I just haven't got around to putting it on a video. So while I built that, I'm going to give you closer access to me. And this is my link, so you can message me and book a call with me when you need to. Is that okay? Nobody complained because they want you, right? So the delivery is actually the thing that you need to think about the least. It's as easy as putting people on a Telegram chat or adding a school community. As long as you're there, the main thing is there. And for pricing, this is after some testing, this is what I arrived. So selling your assets like a workshop, and I'm calling it assets specifically. It used to be called workshops because I noticed that some people did better not doing workshops, but maybe selling an ebook or a course or an actual book. Assets is anything that you can sell for $10 to $300 one time. So that is enough to get people inside of the shell. Temporary access, which I recommend you also always add like as a separate option, because I've found something I call whale theory, which is 10% of people are willing to pay 10 times as much. So adding an option of that's 2 to 10 times the asset price whenever you sell an asset is worth it, because these people typically are interested in you. The other people are like often more interested in your stuff, but these people want you. Group access, 100 to 400 per week. The sweet spot after a lot of testing being 250 per week. The people who got in at 250 per week tended to be the ones that stay the longest, because 250 a week tended to be it's just affordable for the right people. For long-term deals varies. Often I'll have people who pay me like 400 a week, and then there's people at 337, and then at 278, and then 377. And that's okay, because sometimes I'll credit payments, I'll work things out privately with people. I do weekly pricing, which is A, because it gets more yeses, and B, because it's very dynamic. I can change pricing like from one week to the other, and then I can credit this payment, right? And it goes down. The effects are more immediate, which allows me to have people at many different levels. And people come from different backgrounds. So being dynamic with pricing serves you more than being rigid. One-on-one access, which I recommend you price at 2 to 3 times what you price a group. So the way I price my stuff, for example, it's $400 a week for Cash Creators. But if you wanted to work one-on-one with me, it's $400 a week on top. So it's something like they add for a period of time, and they can downgrade if they like. And then partnership is 10% of profits. But that's it. That's the shell. So I have templates for each of these, and I'm gonna go over these. But so you understand now, find the ones that you're gonna implement or the ones that serve you. Everything else, put it for later. So how do you get people inside of this? Once people are inside of the shell, it's easy to upsell them and move them around. But how do you get them inside? So in theory, one offer is enough, right? Just do more volume and the offer will sell. Just send more emails, post more stuff, get more leads, build ads, get a DM setter, and you'll do fine. In the real world, offer fatigue is a thing. which is when people know what you're going to say, they stop listening. I put a lot of thoughts into cycling offers. That's why my offer went through 314 edits and I've done multiple workshops. I just don't want people to know what's next because if they figure you out, they got you. If they know what you're going to promote, they're like, oh, I understand everything about you. You see this box? I can put you in there because I understand everything you do. You sell coaching, right? Your program. You don't want that. You want to always kind of be surprising the audience to a degree. And fortunately, fixing this can be as easy as just cycling through the levels of your shell in the front end. And this is my content strategy or my offer strategy. So week 1, I'll promote one thing. Next week, I'll change it. And then next week, another tier. And then next week, another tier. So it's hard for people to like catch up to like when am I opening things and what I'm doing. This is intentional because people, to a degree, they kind of like it more when they can't predict you. So by cycling through these levels, you create that novelty. I was speaking with someone today that he said, my first intake did amazing. Now I ran my second intake and it completely flopped. And I'm like, right, because offers have a law of diminishing return. If you always promote the same thing, eventually people are like, they understand it and they're like, they want to buy something from you, but just not that. You have to take it down for a few weeks and then bring it back. Some rules of thumb for duration, as it's typically really easy to overcomplicate, like do I start on Wednesday or Sunday? Do I do it for 10, 7, 3 days? For me, there's no minimum. So if I do it one day, it's okay. 90% of the time I cycle between a client offer and a customer offer. So 1 week each. Typically, this is how it goes. So I'll open my client intake on the first week. Weeks 2 and 3 are separate workshops. In week 4, I will do another client intake. And I cycle through that. That cadence sustained me for like 6 months before people kind of catched up to it. At that point, then I just mix up the order and then you're fine. Like offer frequency matters, but often rotation also matters. Now, the thing here is it's easy to get very autistic about the cadence, as in, do I start on Monday or Tuesday? When's the best day? Don't start offers on Friday or whatnot. But these thoughts, they don't serve you as much. The reason why it's because it serves you more about building the cadence around your life, because then you find like interesting protagonist style angles that you wouldn't have found otherwise. If you think of what offers are better for the market at this timing, then you're gonna sound like everybody else because you're asking the same question that everybody else is asking. Whereas if you ask yourself the question, what is happening in my life this month? Then you build your offers around that. Nobody can copy your cadence, and therefore nobody can predict you. And therefore your audience will land harder. So some examples of this. I had a birthday weekend offer. So I have a client, he was selling this offer and like it just wasn't selling. But then he said, hey, it's my birthday. And my birthday, I have this new tradition that I want to give stuff to people instead of people giving me stuff. So for this weekend only, this is at half price. And somebody who was ghosting him for like forever said, you know what, I'm interested in that. Let's do it. And he bought. Like you can't predict this kind of stuff. Another one's the summer 10K. So I'm thinking, okay, what's happening this summer for me? I was going to go to Spain and I couldn't take any clients. And I thought, what can I do? I can just bring my top 3 workshops and sell it as a bundle. And the summer 10K still was one of the highest performing bundles I ever sold because it was just putting 3 things together. And now I'm thinking about this thing called Omar. So I'm looking to move to America, to the US, on an E2 visa. So the thing about the E2 visa is that you have to prove that you're helpful to the American economy, right? So I thought about running this in-person event called OMAR, Operation Make America Richer, so that I could host an in-person event in America, hire Americans, be an American, and then I could show that to the officer and say like, hey man, like it's Omar, you know what I mean? Like you can't come up with this stuff if you're always thinking about what does the market want. Think about what you want and you make that around that. And this is cool when you allow it to finance your life. There's some people who say, I'm going on a trip next week. So I decided I'm going to launch this new offer that I've never launched before. And it's called the Hawaii trip. It's designed to finance my trip, but you get my best offer here. Bye. So you can finance your life with your cadence if you're smart about it. Now, backing. Another way that the shell reduces waste that I find quite effective is moving people beyond the money line. So most advice is, I believe, getting people towards the money line. And here's what I mean by that. This line right here, every single dot here represents people in your audience. The more to the right they are, the more they trust you. Now, some people have trusted you enough to cross the money line. I said that a lot of advice was wasteful because it focuses on how do you get people just to cross it. And as soon as they cross it, they stop selling, right? There's no effort to get these people to move further. I focus almost all of my effort in moving these people further because I understand prospect inertia. And I know that the more money someone gives you, the more money they are likely to give you. And it's like, if they already paying you, they already trust you. Not only are they the person who are easiest to upsell, but they're also probably going way willing to pay way more because they already are there, right? They're already moving. So I just think it's a ways when we get people to cross the money line, they become clients, customers, and we don't sell them something else. There's nothing in the back end. There's no upsell. There's nothing there. And I believe that if we focus on here, this part could rival this part of the business. For me, this is 70% of my money. 80% of my clients come from a workshop. 25% of people who bought a workshop became clients. 15% of clients buy something else, and 5% of clients become one-on-one clients. The further end of the money line is where most of my money comes from. And it's the people I sell to the least, paradoxically. This is intentional. Because, and you find this, if you're a client, the amount of selling I do to you before and after you become a client is like night and day. It's intentional because I know that selling to your current client damages a relationship and you both get less. So you get less money because it's iffy to work with you and it's like awkward. And they get less service because then you got to split your attention between how do you serve them and how do you upsell them. So having less salesy upselling methods work better in my experience. They're not hard. In my opinion, selling people is way harder than upselling people. The thing is, when you want to upsell people, what you got to do is you got to actually slow down and you got to think, okay, what makes sense in this situation? It's not hard. It just has a few moving pieces. So about upselling. In order to get people to upsell, and by the way, people can skip steps in the offer shell. Like there's occasions in which people are here, they bought a workshop, and then they're like, hey, what can we do to partner together? Like there's some occasions where that happens. It's not most, but it does happen. So in order to get people inside the offer shell in the first place, to get them to buy a one-time thing from you, that's next week's focus on the workshop funnel. This has some moving pieces that need to be implemented correctly. So next week we go deep into that. Now, let's say somebody bought a temporary access offer from you. How do you upsell them from temporary access to staying with you? And what I do then is I credit their last payment into the next commitment. So an example of this, the way I price my passes is I price it half now, half at the end of the month. So if you wanted the February pass, it's 500 now, 500 when February ends. A little before February, I'll send a similar message to this. Hey, here's something that might help you keep your momentum going. You have the option to credit the payment you've made and cancel the next 501 in 6 days to cash creators. So you essentially save 1K and your rate goes down to this much, and the next step would be to get on a one-on-one with me and craft your plan. Let me know if you'd like to take me up on this and I'll get you my link. This had like a 25% take rate on November. A pass and this upsell, selling to like 10 people, got me more clients than selling to 220,000 people. Again, inertia. Right? So you want to upselling people is much easier than selling people in the first place. So this is a tool you can use. For example, if somebody buys an hour with you, what you can do is you can credit the hour into a payment for your client program. So if they spend 1,000, for example, you're like, okay, let's credit that into the program so you can keep your momentum going. Credit is the eighth wonder of the world. It is amazing. It works so well because people like being consistent with their previous actions. And it also makes it look like very safe for the person receiving it. To upsell people from, let's say they're in group access and you'd like them to log them in for a year, or they're in their group access and you'd like them to upgrade to one-on-one. The first step there is identifying which one makes the most sense for the situation. Do you want to do a long-term deal with the person, or would you like to upsell them to one-on-one? It depends because not every lead is created equal. You know that there's some people who, they have the money, they don't have the time, so it makes a lot of sense to do the one-on-one. And there's some other people who you think they might not be the richest clients, but they got the attitude, right? So they might benefit from a different kind of perk if they commit to staying for longer. I have 5 ways to have a long-term deal with people. Which is the best one? There is no best one. you got to see which one makes the most sense for the person you're talking to. So some examples. Let's say you get a client now that's paying you recurring. You can text them what I texted them on Black Friday, which is, hey, I'm doing something for Black Friday that might benefit you. I believe in playing long-term games with long-term people. So I'm making it easier for both of us to play it by reducing your fee from this to this if you stay for a year. No need to pay upfront. I just reduce your next payment onwards. You end up saving this much over the year and we both get to play the long game. If you'd like to do this, it's an option available to you. 20% of people took this and that locks in for the year. So again, recurring revenue is a mirage. I'd rather like have a handshake agreement in which we can set this up. So if somebody's having, cash flow is a little tight, this is the deal you can make. Another one is buy 2 months, get 1 free. So this is, shout out Alan Go, he's the one who showed me this, but this is useful really on summer and holidays because those are typically the months when people get a little flaky with their commitments. So he sent this to his people. The holidays are just around the corner, a festive and hectic time, but also an expensive one, so I want to help. Here's what I've got for you. Buy 2 months, get 1 free. I know it's a mental thing, but skipping auto charge on Christmas and New Year makes us breathe a little easier. So if you pay for 2 months now, I'll stop your weekly payments and only resume them in February. I'm also adding a complimentary one-on-one call if you get this before date. Reply free if you're in. So this is a way to get people to not leave on the tough months like summer and holidays. Credit. So let's say somebody has spent, let's say you charge $1,000 per month and somebody has stayed with you for 3 months, but you like them to stay for the year. Now they've spent $3,000 with you. The year would be $12,000. 2 options you can make. Number one is you could say, hey, would you like to lock in the year? Could work, also couldn't. The one that has a higher likelihood of working is if you credit the money they already spent into the next commitment. So if you credit the 3,000 into the next 12,000 and the year ends up at 9,000, that way you make it look like continuous. You credit everything they've done in the past. So, hey, I'm doing this thing for Black Friday where I credit all the payments you made into the future. You've paid this much, which I can credit into your membership. 12 months here is this much per week. If you stay for the year, I can credit your past payment and your fee would go down to this much per week. That's why all my payments are like kind of walks. Like they got people at 377, 337, 271, whatever, right? Because I just credit people's payments to the next commitment. No need to pay upfront. I just reduce your next payment onwards. If you like to do this, it's an option available to you. These are all messages that you can send today. You could lock in people for the year today if you just send them this kind of stuff. And they already trust you. So that's why you need less selling with it. More access. This is my favorite one personally, because as I'm in timeless mode now, I'm not taking new clients, but I'm working like with more depth with others. This is my favorite one. I'm doing this new thing called a call a quarter, where I'm including 4-hour long calls with me to create, tweak, and achieve your 2025 plan to goal. No need for upfront payments or increases in fee. Everything remains the same. Plus, we both commit to working together towards the goal for the year. Let me know if you'd like to take me up on this, and I'll get you my one-on-one link to craft your plan. This has like a 60% take rate. It's amazing. People are like, okay, yeah, let's do it, right? Because there's more trust here, and you give them more access to you in exchange for them staying for longer. And the fifth one is I don't incentivize paid in full personally, because I'd rather have recurring revenue than paid in full. But I do see an argument for people who want to do it. If you need cash now, or if you're in other niches, mainly like fitness, in which, for example, if me, that, it's a small world, coaching and consulting, if somebody defaults on their payments or they go back on their word and break their word, there's consequences. On fitness, people don't care about it, right? Because it's like, there's no reputation involved. So paid in full might be the move for that. Or you just may want some cash now. So you can say, hey, great to see the win. Just letting you know that the annual discount is still available for the next 4 weeks. You'll save this much. Let me know if you want to take me up on this. I'll credit your payments to date and run it with the card on file. Okay, so there's 5 things you can use to sell people on. Like find your clients and you're like, what makes sense for that person? This is where the magic is. You can make tailored offers, or you can just do one-on-one upselling. So this is my Google Doc that I use to sell one-on-one coaching with. It's a very bad offer for cold traffic, but it's just right for warm. So this is one-on-one coaching. This is what I'll help you with. This is what you get. Private DM access, on-demand Zoom calls, here's what you won't be getting. 10-week commitment, $1,000 a week. That's it. This upsells 5% of clients into working with me at $750 to $1,000 a week. Now you've identified which ones work for each client, and this requires you slowing down and thinking, okay, what would benefit this person the most? Now you can implement touch points for upselling. And this is something that some of it can be automated, some of it has to do manually. And I recommend you keep it that way. The best time to upsell a client, I found personally, is right after your onboarding call. So at this person, I sent them the recording and I said, hey, this might benefit you. I'm doing this new thing called a color quarter, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, okay, yeah, I'm in. Every month, back when I used to have one-on-one coaching spots open, I used to open them every month. So I said, one-on-one coaching, one spot for July. And this is a post, if you have a community, you can make it today. And there's a non-zero chance that people will say yes to it. I've got one-on-one spot for one-on-one, best for tweaking the plan you already have or crafting a new one. These are $300 a week on top of your membership fee. It includes DMs with me and a setup one-on-one call. Upgrade or downgrade whenever you'd like. DM me for details. Private DMs, if you identify somebody who you think might benefit from it, hey, I'm doing this thing. I thought you might benefit from it. Shall I send you the invite? And then you just tell them the duck. Talk about it, hint at it. You'll catch me saying this on the weekly office hours or even today. Like my one-on-one clients, my personal clients, table members, I'll talk about it. And then it hints at the existence of it, which with your current clients, selling is overrated. If they just know that it exists, they often ask. Include it in the cart when somebody buys from you, along with the paid in full options. I found this to be optimal. To be on the Google Doc, you sell one thing, one pricing. As soon as they get into the cart, then you introduce the other options. After the checkout, so once people pay, I ask them again, hey, would you like to pay in full? And then the onboarding material, I have a training where I describe how to get help. And I say, if you want DMs, it's this much. If you want this, it's that much. It's as simple as it sounds. So that's how you upsell people. It requires some human touch. So you gotta understand what long-term deals you give them or what one-on-one coaching, who requires it. And then you just implement the touch points. Again, not hard. It just requires slowing down. And for partnerships, it's case specific. I work with one person on a partnership. And it's like love, when you know, you know. So out of all of this, I have a preference for selling more access, but I'm flexible. And the flexibility helps me because I make tailor offers. And in my experience, people appreciate it. I had a client the other day that he paid for 16 weeks every week on time, but he did nothing. He didn't ask me a single question, didn't post a single time, nothing, except for his one-on-one onboarding call in which he mentioned that he'd be going like from person to person, getting help, but he like never made the move to actually do the thing. So when he said, JK, I'm out after 16, thank you very much, I thought this is a perfect opportunity to use credit. So I said, listen, I don't want you to repeat the same pattern of investing and then getting nothing out of it. How about we credit all the payments you already made into the future? We commit to this for the year, but at least you won't have wasted this money. But this time we do it right. And that's the first time somebody has ever thanked me for making them a deal to upsell them. They're like, you know what? Thank you. And I respect you. Sometimes if you know which one to make out of the long-term deals, it ends up being very, very worth it to tailor it to the person. And once they're in, the game is forming a good relationship. And this is kind of the key to the churn that I had to learn. If you're in the coaching or consulting business, what you really are in is in a relationship business. If you can make the relationship strong, then you will have a strong business. This is why I'm very flexible with pricing and payments and like some help that I give some people. There's often times where the call goes horribly and I just ask people, hey, like, listen, I fucked up. Want to go another time? I'm free at 12. And they're like, okay, sure, let's do it. And we do it because it's a relationship business. The other day I had a client, well, no, not a client, but a past buyer that got on the office hours. And I could sense how my energy was different talking to clients versus talking to him because he wasn't a client, which wasn't fair because he earned the right to be treated as a client for as long as he bought the pass. And I treated him differently. So I realized I fucked up. So I said, hey, he's like, hey, I didn't like how that came out. I got a few minutes until my next call. Want to hop on? He's like, yeah, let's do it. Same link. We got on a call and the guy said, JK, if I knew that you were going to help me with ABC problem, then I would have signed up to the main cash creators, not just the pass. So I said, well, now you know. You already paid this much. Do you want to credit that purchase into cash creators? It's like, okay, let's do it, right? So being flexible helps you more than one pricing, one offer, one thing. You're in the relationship business and relationships are not rigid. The offer shell gives you that flexibility. It happens quite often, upselling with an offer shell. And I've noticed that often the main blocker is my lack of attention to detail. It's not hard. You just have to slow down a bit and think, okay, what makes sense for this person? AKA, if you want to make this work, you have to give a fuck. So what I do is I'm not a checklist guy, but I will do this every Monday. I'll be like, have I checked in with my one-on-one guys? How's it going? Do you know what you need to work on for the next? And I'll do LTDs, lifetime deals and the DMs. So I'll go over my client list and I'll think based on what I know about where this person is at the moment, which of the offers serve them? How can I help them more? And that has been reducing churn from 70% took it down to 20. So the two-step plan, because we covered a lot. The goal of the show is not to upsell everybody. This is unrealistic and it will disappoint you. The goal is to extract as much as you can out of everyone willing to pay and enjoy it. The other day, somebody bought a temporary 3K access offer and he didn't upgrade to cash creators. Under suite standards, this was a loss. But like, I talked to the guy and like, to put it nicely, he was just not cash creator material. Under shell standards, this was a win because I don't even want to work with this guy and I got 3K out of it. So not bad. Everyone has a maximum amount they're willing to pay you. The number is unknown to you and to them, but there's two easy rules that to find out how much they're willing to pay you and actually get paid that I live by and probably won't stop living by for a long time. Make a front-end offer every day and make a back-end offer every week. If I do this, I know I'm doing the thing. These give me clarity and make sure I'm doing the main thing, which is just making offers. So all the offers that we talked about, the one-on-ones, the bundle, the assets, the ebook, everything is here. And they all have the template and you have my blessing to get into them and swipe them. I'm not going to get into them right now. We can get into them later because there's just a lot. But here's where you can get them. In order to implement it, to know like, I understand this, what's next? The first one is find the offers that are most useful to you at your stage, depending on what level you're at. What are you willing to give and tolerate and not tolerate? Second, make a front-end offer every day or as often as you can without burning out, and make a back-end offer every week so that you don't have too much waste in your business and you're actually moving the people who want to pay you the most further along. And that is it.